wanted to go there. So I went back that second time and got to experience a little bit more. Decided I still really liked the school. And then after that was when I decided to go. And went up, you'll most likely go up before your classes start for like a registration day where you sign up and you get your dorm room and all of that. And then you actually start classes. So for me, it ended up being 3 times that I was able to go in person to see the school before I started going. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. I see there's some more questions in the chat. So after being accepted to UMHB, do you need to apply to the School of Nursing? That's a really good question. I will cover that whenever I get to nursing specifically. And then how easy or hard is it to get into UMHB? So compared to most universities, UMHB is not very competitive. It's not a very difficult school to get into. I was not a big fan of the SAT. I did not like taking it multiple times. I was not a good SAT test taker, but I was still able to get automatic acceptance into the school and get a generous amount of scholarship, not just from my SAT, but that was able to give me some. It's not very competitive. They also usually have a free application available. So I would really strongly recommend applying. It's not a hard application. You can always apply. You never know what happens. See how much scholarship they'll offer you. And then you might end up liking it. And the same applies to a lot of smaller schools. The bigger schools usually have application fees and stuff, but UMHB, no essay, no application fee, and it's not very hard to get into. Mm-hmm.
Melanie, I have a question. I remember, I don't know if I am right, if I remember right, but I remember when you were in the program that you mentioned that if you apply before June 15, you can receive full ride. Is that in place?
Partially. You're partially remembering something correctly. Not full credit, but whenever the summer that I applied, if you applied and were accepted before June 15th, they had a $5,000 scholarship every year available. So that was one of the scholarships. Whenever I was saying look at what other scholarships the schools have, that's like an example of one. They have, I know that they still have the scholarship available. I don't know if the dates have changed, but that is something you can look into. It's called, for UMHB, the Leadership Scholarship. And you basically, you get a reference letter, you write an essay, submit it, and they consider you for a really good scholarship. A couple of students receive it. And it will apply every school year while you're here.
Actually, I'm gonna say that you were the first person who told us that year that you applied, because July 15 is just the beginning of the applications. So most of the students don't have a clue about, like the July 1st is the first day of the application. So I don't think that too many people are ready, to submit an application before July 15. So you had everything ready. I mean, in order to do that, you should have worked, before with your essays, everything that you have supposed to have, right? So It's not easy to start on July 1st and being ready and submit an application in 15 days if you haven't done anything before in advance.
Yes, exactly.
Con Melanie fue June 15.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it was actually June 15th. So it was even earlier.
Exactly.
Even earlier. Yes. So a lot of the universities, the additional scholarships that they have, they'll all vary in exact requirements, but they're all the general idea. So a lot of them will ask you for reference letters from a teacher at your high school, someone you volunteered with in the community, someone from your church, especially if you're applying to a Christian school, such as UMHB, reference letters from anyone you've worked with. They'll often ask for an essay. So why do you want to come here? Why do you want to study your major? Why do you deserve this scholarship? Those kinds of general questions. So if you want to apply to these scholarships, they're good things to start thinking about in advance. And like Tere said, go ahead and start collecting that and having that ready. So as soon as the scholarship is available, especially if you're in you have a short time frame to get it ready, you can just go ahead, have it, submit it, and hopefully collect those scholarships because it'll make such a big difference in your tuition. Another question, on top of that, some of the students will be taking summer classes. Oh, for the scholarship application?
Yeah, I meant to say that, during the summer, on top of getting ready for your applications and essays, some students will also be taking summer school. So kind of make it a little bit tough, but now they know in advance
Yes.
what to expect. So hopefully they will be working towards be ready for application. That's what I meant. It was not a question, sorry.
Okay, no, yeah, thank you for saying that. That's a really good point. It's really true. Yeah, as prepared as you can be, it'll make the process so much smoother and easier because it's already a lot. So as much as you can help yourself is really great. Another question, will the university send us some scholarships or do we have to search for them? So good question. The ones that they will automatically give you are usually the FAFSA, the FAFSA and merit-based scholarships for your SAT and GPA. And then the other scholarships, all of them in my experience, you have to search for air quotes. You can ask them, hey, what other scholarships do y'all offer? And then they'll go ahead and give you that information. But yes, you do have to do effort on your part. They just don't go ahead and tell you what scholarships they have available. Be sure to ask. Good questions. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and keep talking and then just as y'all have questions, keep asking. So the next part for campus involvement. So once you are at a university, one of the biggest things I think you could do is get involved in your school. That is what will really flourish your love for the school, make you passionate about it, make you have fun. It makes you more attached to the university versus just a place that you're taking classes and getting your degree. That's great. But if you can make memories and go through experiences that are fun and exciting and make you happy to be there, it'll really make a big difference. So similarly, I mean, people say in high school, like, oh, there's so much to be involved in. But in college, there is so much to be involved in. Really just a lot of opportunities for things to be a part of. There are lots of organizations over academics, hobbies, different things, different clubs and groups to be a part of. There's a lot of organizations that even help with the organizing of campus events. So if you like setting things up and planning things and being a part of like the behind the scenes of things that happen, you can do that and help with planning homecoming or football games and just all kinds of events that happen on school, fairs, parties, different social events, everything. A lot of colleges have intramural sports, which is basically you have your good sports teams and then you have your sports teams that are just for fun. So there are groups that come together and sign up and compete in like soccer, flag football, volleyball, different sports. And it really is just for fun. If you enjoy a sport, but you're not competitive or serious about it, you can just group up some friends or join a team that's already existing and get involved in that. It's a great way to meet people and just enjoy yourself. I was on an intramural soccer team my freshman year, had never played soccer before. Haven't played soccer again since. I was terrible. My whole team was terrible. But I met some really great friends from it and we had a really fun time. We always laugh about it because it was so much fun. So that's another thing that you can get involved in. There's a lot of community that you'll find within, if you choose to live on campus in a dorm when you're at school. They have a lot of events and activities and ways to try to connect you with the other freshmen and students living in your dorm. And then if you're going to be commuting to wherever you're going, there's also a lot of community that they try to build in that, so that commuters can meet, or if you're a transfer student, they really try to plug you in with as many people as they can who they think you'll have things to bond over, and they don't want you to be left out in any way. If you are living on campus, and as I was saying earlier, like if you don't know anybody going to the school you're going to, a random roommate assignment might be the situation you find yourself in. And that is what happened to me my freshman year, since I didn't know anybody coming to my school. So I was honestly really nervous, really scared to live with somebody for a whole year who I had never met before. And the girl who I was assigned to live with is now one of my best friends. We had an amazing experience living together. I had a great experience with the whole random roommate situation. I think a big part of that is that whenever you fill out your random roommate, well, if you are going to have a random roommate, or whenever you're signing up for a dorm freshman year, they'll ask you, do you know somebody you want to live with? If so, who? And they'll put you together. Or do you not know anybody? We're going to give you a random roommate. Fill out these questions about yourself. So, are you clean? Do you like to go to bed early? What do you like to do in your free time? What time are your classes? When do you want to get up in the morning? All these kinds of questions about living situations, and they'll try to pair you as best as they can with someone who will match your living style. Obviously, it's hard for every match to become a friendship. But from what I've seen, it works out really well for a lot of people. Don't be discouraged if you're going to be living with a random roommate. You never know. You can end up really meeting someone really great and having a really great friend in that. Just when you are filling out that random roommate questionnaire, I would suggest to be as honest as you can about yourself. You know yourself. If you know that you like to go to bed early, or if you know that you're messy, don't feel embarrassed filling it out. No one else is going to see that. They just really want to match you to someone who you'll get along with, because your living situation can make a really big difference in your whole experience, because that's someone who you're going to be seeing every single day. So be honest in your questionnaire about your habits. I have another question. How far is UMHB to Katy? So it's about 2.5 to 3 hours away. It's right in between Austin and Waco, so up north, north from in relation to Katy. Does it make sense to commute? Is it not required to live on campus your first year? So, good questions. For the majority of schools, it's required to live on the university's campus your first year, unless you're within like a certain really close range. So unless you live like 10 minutes away from the school, you have to live in a dorm. That's the case with UMHB. So since I am from Katy, it didn't make sense for me to commute. I just lived on campus. Most freshmen do live on campus for most schools, but if it does make sense for you to commute, then that's something for you to decide if you want to spend the money of living on campus, or if you're only going to take classes once or twice a week, so the drive is worth it. That'll just be up for you to decide. Weighing out driving versus living on campus. What GPA do you have to be a nurse? Good question. I'll be sure to cover that in my nursing section. If you are not a Christian, can you still apply to Baylor or a Christian school? Yes, definitely you can. So this goes for UMHB and other Christian schools. I can speak more for UMHB being here, but from what I've heard, it's similar for all Christian schools. UMHB is Christian, or it's Baptist specifically and religious. However, and they do involve that in their curriculum and in their environment. So for example, professors a lot of times will pray at the beginning of class for a quick minute, or professors more openly discuss God, or tell you things like, I'm praying for you, or spiritual comments like that. Every Wednesday morning, your freshman and sophomore year, you are required to attend a chapel service with a worship band and a motivational speaker. Things like that. So there are Christian aspects built into the school. However, it's not required and it's never forced or pushed upon you. And it's pretty, because I personally am Catholic, and I have had no problem with that technical difference in being here. I've never been bothered by their Christian aspect, or felt like disrespected. I know friends who aren't religious at all, and they've never had a problem with it. But then it's also really nice because if that is, like for me personally, who I do enjoy the spiritual aspect of the school, they provide really great opportunities to help you grow in your spirituality if that is something you're looking to do. So yes, don't have to be a Christian. How many years to get a bachelor's degree in science of nursing? I'll answer that too in the nursing section. Okay, so I was talking about rooming and housing. And then my last thing with on campus, I wanted to share, if any of you have heard or are familiar with work study programs, once you start filling out a FAFSA, you may see that on your FAFSA. So there's a such thing known as a work study program, which means that you, on your FAFSA, indicate that you're interested to be a part of the work study program. And the university has spots for students to work for the school. So the university has jobs answering phones in the admissions office, working at the library, working in the computer lab, giving tours of the school, being a teacher's assistant and grading papers, working the front desk at a building, different little jobs all over campus. And they all pay you minimum wage. However, that salary per se goes towards paying your school. So I work a work study job. I work in the on-campus computer lab. Sometimes I tell people I don't deserve to call it a job. It is the easiest job I've ever had. I just sit at a computer desk and work on homework and get paid for it. So it's great. Most of the jobs are really easy like that because they're trying to help you. While you're not getting paid a lot of money, as if you were working off campus, maybe babysitting or at HEB or somewhere else, it's super flexible with your classes. You're really not having to do a lot of work, so it gives you time for your homework and getting all your things done. You don't have to drive anywhere, so you're saving that money and time on gas and getting to work. So it's something to weigh if you need, if you're planning on working a job, but I would strongly recommend considering a work study position. All universities have those. And that's something that if you sign up that you want a work study job, once it gets closer to school starting, your school will reach out to you about where to find jobs, how to apply to jobs, things like that. What's a job I could work in work study that won't require me to interact with a lot of people? So to answer that question, there's a wide variety of jobs. Let me think. So there's some jobs. I have a friend who works in the IT department, And whenever people are having a problem with like their dorm's Wi-Fi or their apartment's Wi-Fi or something, they submit a complaint basically. And he goes in and he fixes the problems from a computer, and that's his job. So he loves it. He likes working with computers. He likes that kind of thing. He doesn't really have to interact with a lot of people. So that's an example. Or I have a friend who works in the student activities office. So she helps people get information about different events and things going on. She's interacting with people all day. She loves it. So there's just something really for everybody, depending on what you're looking for. And those requirements and expectations will be given to you ahead of time before you apply to the job. Another question, how many hours do you have to work a week? So it's 13 hours a week is what work study is at my school. I think that's a standard for all universities. I'm 99% sure on that. I think it's 13 hours for everybody. All right, yeah, you're welcome. Thank y'all for asking. Okay. All right, so that's really everything I was gonna hit with on campus. Next, so for classes, really what you're going to school for. So my biggest suggestion with that is just start good habits from the beginning of the semester. Try to develop a good routine. It'll be hard, of course, because you're in an environment you've never been in before. You have a new schedule. I mean, even like for y'all, I know when I was in high school, like at the beginning of each school year, it's so hard to get a routine down just because you have a schedule change and different teachers. So then in college, it feels so much more overwhelming because not only is it new teachers, but a new place to live, a new city, so many things are different. But try to get into a good routine as fast as you can and build good habits and not fall behind in that, because then it'll be really hard to catch up later. Time management, so important. Everybody talks about time management. I know it gets really tiring, but that's because it's so important. It can be really easy to let yourself get caught up in all of these really exciting things happening around you on campus, all of these activities and events, but you need to just remember your priorities and remember that at the end of the day, you are there for classes, and that's going to be your biggest takeaway when you graduate your degree. So you want to make sure that you are getting your assignments done and staying on top of all of that, so that you're not super stressed at the end when it's finals and you're trying to catch up on your grades. Sometimes you'll have to say no to going out with friends or things like that, and that's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities to go out and have fun and do things. So if it's a like Tuesday night or even a Saturday night, and you know you have other things that you probably should be working on instead, you'll thank yourself later whenever you're not as stressed out that you chose to manage that time well and do what you need to do. Also, my really big advice with classes in college is developing a study habit where you study information over time. So college will be really different in high school in that your classes only last a semester. So I know there's some classes in high school that only are semester long, but in college, every class is only a semester. So you're taking what you would learn in a whole year now and then condensing it in half. So there's a lot of information covered at a pretty fast pace. So whenever like you're and then you don't have as many homework assignments and quizzes and projects and random little things like that. You usually just have like 3 to 4 big tests, and that's where the majority of your grade comes from. So and then every chapter like builds on each other a little bit. So by the time when you get to your final exam, depending on the way you study during the semester, you might remember and have retained the information really well, which is what you want, or you're going to feel like you took exams and then immediately forgot the information because you didn't study well. So make sure that you're studying for long term rather than taking an exam, crashing everything the night before an exam, and then forgetting all of it. Because you really want to hold on to what you're learning. Oh, and then also a really great thing that this is something offered at all universities is tutoring. So in some shape or form, there are tutoring services that all universities provide, and it's completely free. So take advantage of it. And it's one of the jobs, for example, one of those work study jobs I was saying. If you like to teach, you can sign up and be a tutor. If there's a group of students in the tutoring, it's a whole building that we have for tutors. And it's basically students who did really well in the class and got a recommendation from a professor. So now their job is to sit like in this sort of library, and students who have questions can come up to them about that class and ask them and receive free tutoring. So it's really great. You're getting help from someone your same age who was just in that class, so they can tell you what the tests are like, what the professor expects, things like that. And I personally really appreciate sometimes, like if I'm in class and the way a professor is explaining something to me just isn't quite making sense. And then as soon as I hear it from somebody else, it clicks. And so sometimes it just takes someone else's perspective or way of explaining something for it to make sense to you. So that's something that I would recommend before exams, or even don't even wait before the exam. Just after class, if you're like, I don't really understand what we talked about today, go to the tutor and try to get help in that way. A couple of questions in the chat. How long did it take you to adapt to your new routine? Weeks, months? So I think that it takes a couple of weeks to get into your routine, but to adapt to college in general, it could take your whole first semester, which is why I think that the first semester might be a really strong change for a lot of people, because it might, depending on the person, it just might take you a little bit more to get used to that different environment and like drastic change of things. And not to make it sound like negative or hard or bad or anything, just that it is a lot. And so for some people, it kind of takes them that whole first semester to sort of figure out what works for them and what doesn't, what they like, what they don't like. And then hopefully going into your second semester of college, you really have a better understanding of like your study habits and things like that. And second semester should go a lot smoother. If just from like what I observed with some friends who just had a really hard time in their first semester, don't let that be discouraging. You're definitely not the only one. It's a big change for a lot of people if you're missing home and wanting to go home a lot, or different things that you can have going on. But within the first couple of weeks, I think most people can adapt to it. Another question, 3 to 4 tests for the whole semester. So yes, that's usually what it is. 3 to 5, maybe, just because in one class I had 5 tests for the semester. But really, on average, it's about 3 to 4. Usually the way it's broken up is that kind of how y'all right now, I think, at least this is how it was for me in high school. You have like your first 6 weeks, second 6 weeks, third 6 weeks, and then finals. It's really similar. So if you think of it that way, you have like your first 6 weeks and then an exam, one exam. Second 6 weeks, an exam. Third 6 weeks, an exam, and then your final. Do y'all still have like the 6 weeks thing? Nodding. Okay, good. So good analogy. Yeah, that's how it sort of is broken up in college. And you will have Monday.
I'm sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
There was one question at the beginning that I think, but continue, sorry. I thought you finished.
Okay, not the rigorous. You will have homework assignments and quizzes and other little things. However, they really only are like 5% of your whole grading average. So it's like you have them, but it's almost as if you didn't even have them because they don't even affect your grade that much. Because I remember that was something I heard in high school. People were like, oh, it's only tests. And that was a little bit misleading because that's not all you have, but that's what really makes up the bulk of your grade. Do you have any tips on how to spread out classes? Are you referring to whenever you build your schedule? Or for yes, okay. So tips on how to spread out your classes. Yeah, so you'll get to build and create your schedule essentially for college at registration. And my advice on doing that is you know yourself best. If you really aren't a big, huge morning person, then maybe I wouldn't sign up for all 8 a.m. classes because a lot of people just end up like skipping them, and then that becomes a really big issue. But at the same time, I would try to not get in the habit of having classes really late in the day where you're letting yourself sleep in and just waste half of your day. Since you have that flexibility, because it's not an option in high school, right? You have to be there at 7:30 no matter what, and you do it. So in college, don't let yourself get lazy and change that. I'm a big morning person. I've had 8 a.m.s every single year, every semester by choice. I love it. I love getting up early, starting my day early, and then being done early and having time for events and activities and hanging out and things like that. So I would recommend try to do your classes early just to like avoid those bad habits and get them out of the way. And then also, your classes usually last an hour long in college. And so there might be an option to have a class at like 8, 9, 10, or 11. And if you have one class, say at 8 o'clock, I would try to put your next class right after it at 9 o'clock so that you have them back to back. I would try to avoid having like one class at 8 o'clock and then one class at 11 o'clock because you'll have this like weird 2-hour gap in between. And usually that's just kind of like wasted time, depending on your self-discipline. A lot of people rarely actually get stuff done in those 2 hours. You just kind of hang around or you waste time like walking back to your dorm and then grabbing a couple things and then walking. Before you know it, you already have to go back to your next class. So I would try to have everything back to back as much as you can. And I think that you'll see that being a lot more time efficient. And then how many classes did you take every semester? I've done about 4 classes, 4, and then I think one semester I did 5. A big part of that is just kind of, so the way that classes are measured, trying to see how I'll want to answer this. So classes in college are measured by hours. And so it's based off of how many hours you're in class for that week. So the average is what's called a 3-hour class. And that means that you're in class for 3 hours each week. So those 3 hours can be broken up in different ways. It can be all at once. So your class can be every Monday from 12 to 3, and there's your 3 hours. Or it can be like Tuesday and Thursday for an hour and a half, and there's your 3 hours. Or you'll see a lot Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, each for 1 hour, and that adds up to 3 hours. So then the way that you measure like how many classes you're in a semester is also by hours. So for all colleges, the minimum that you have to be in to be considered a full-time student is 12 hours. So if you divide like 12 by 3 hours each class, that's 4 classes, if that makes sense. So some classes are a little bit less. Some classes are only 2 hours or 1 hour. And then some classes are bigger and they're like 4 hours. Some like even 5 hours, but 3 is really the average that you'll see. So when you ask me like how many classes did I take every semester, I did about like 12 to 14 hours a semester. So whenever you do your registration, you'll hear them talking in like the vocabulary with hours, and that's what you'll usually see like on average. Oh, yes. And then a big part of that also is like if you're in any AP classes in high school and you're getting AP credit, you may be able to, once you get your AP scores, they're going to transfer those into hours. So based on like the score you get will be how many hours they give you worth of college classes. So if you get a lot of AP classes covered in high school, you'll be able to take less hours per semester in college. So I did a few, not a crazy ton. I know some people get a lot of AP credits in high school. I got a decent amount, not a ton, but because of that, I've been able to do, have a smaller course load and have that way a little bit more free time and have like the minimum amount that I need of 12 hours and not be like killing myself with 18 hours a semester, because it's totally doable. I just wanted to do it the other way. My AP classes covered a lot of things, and then I was able to have like the minimum amount of classes. Another question, which AP classes did you do? So I took AP Spanish for like the Spanish for Spanish speakers AP, which if I'm assuming probably a lot of y'all are in that. That's a great AP class. If you haven't taken the class yet, I recommend taking it if you can. And if you're debating taking the AP exam, I definitely recommend taking it. You can get a lot of hours from it. AP Lang, AP US History, AP Literature, AP Biology, and that was all of them. That was the 5. Mm-hmm. Those were the 5 that I did. All right, well, thank y'all for the questions. I'll keep answering them as I see them in the chat. Oh, what about dual credit? Does that count? Yes, so dual credit counts similarly as it does to AP credit, where it'll cover your college classes. I didn't do any dual credits, so I don't know a lot of really specific details on dual credit, but I have friends in college who did dual credit, and that covered a lot of their classes for them. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay.
There is one question. It says, how many years does it take you to get a bachelor degree of science in nursing? I don't know if you have. Oh, did you reply that one? I'm sorry.
No, I haven't. I hadn't hit any of the nursing questions yet.
Oh,
I'm getting in. I will get into that now. Start getting into the nursing stuff. Yeah. So nursing school. I decided I wanted to be a nursing major before coming into college. So I came into school having already known I wanted to do nursing right now. And so the way it works, nursing programs work, there's various different degrees of nursing. You can get an associate's degree of nursing or a bachelor's degree of nursing. If you're considering nursing in general, I would recommend going for the bachelor's degree, because a lot of hospitals right now are switching like their status, is what it's called, that in a way that's requiring the nurses they hire to have bachelor's degrees. So associates, you'll see that option, but I would recommend just going ahead and getting your bachelor in the next couple of years. I think that'll make a difference when you're applying to jobs. So for the bachelor's degree of nursing, it's a 4-year program. No matter where you go, it's 4 years. And the way that those 4 years are broken up varies a little bit from school to school. So for some schools, those 4 years look like 2 years of prerequisites where you take classes, your basics. So like psychology, biology, anatomy, chemistry, sociology, classes like that. And then 2 years of your actual nursing classes and clinicals and things like that. The way that UMHB splits it up is that it's 3 semesters, so a year and a half of the prerequisites, and then 5 semesters of the nursing program. So you start the nursing program the spring semester of your sophomore year is when I started. Your first semester is known as preclinical. So you're just in classes, in nursing classes. You're not going to any hospitals or health facilities yet. You're just learning all of the skills, and they're equipping you with everything you need to know before they send you out to those clinical sites. Then after that semester, so you're in your junior year of college, those are known as the clinical semesters. And that's when you start going to hospitals and clinics and different facilities, and you get to go and you're assigned to a nurse for the day, and you just shadow them and see everything that they get to do in the scope of their day. They rotate you to various different units so that they try to give you as much exposure as they can to all the different things you can do in nursing. That was one of the biggest things that drew me at first to nursing, that kind of caught my attention to it. There's so many different areas you can work in. You can work in a hospital, a clinic, a school, a research facility. You can work with forensics. You can be a teacher. You can work with law and lawyers as a nurse. There's so many things you can do that I did not realize beforehand. And so during your clinical time, they try to get you into seeing all of those different areas so that you can see what you want to do upon graduating. So the application, getting into nursing school is different than just getting into your university. So right now, the applications y'all are going to be doing will be the application just into the university. Then once, like the semester before your school starts nursing school, so either like your freshman or sophomore year of college, is when you would be starting your nursing application, and you apply specifically to be in the nursing program at that school. That like acceptance difficulty is different from the acceptance difficulty of the general university. So you can be in the university and still get denied from the nursing program. That just depends on the school, how difficult that is and what their requirements look like. UMHB's nursing program is not very hard to get into compared to other schools. It's a lot of work to stay in. It's very rigorous. The requirements for staying in the program are relatively intense. There's just a lot of testing and not a lot of second attempts at things. It's very fast paced. And if you're not staying on top of your things, you're like constantly having exams. And if you fail an exam, you can get kicked out of the entire program. So that's really the biggest thing people struggle with nursing school, is just staying in, because it's, I don't want to say easy, it's just relatively like easier to get in, and then staying is where it gets difficult. A couple of questions. Which nursing did you ultimately choose? So I haven't chosen an area or a specialty for nursing yet. I'm still in my clinical semesters. I'm a junior this year. So you choose that once you graduate and are looking for a job, is really when you'll choose. And even once you graduate and you go into a specific area, you can work somewhere for 6 months. Say you're working on labor and delivery and you decide you don't really like it. There's so much job opportunity in nursing that you can very easily leave and go try something different. You can try working with cancer patients or working in the ICU, emergency room. If you just want to leave the hospital entirely and try to go work in like a day clinic or something like that. So that comes, you don't even have to choose your specialty in college. You don't have to choose a specialty and stick to it out of college. You have a lot of time to figure that out. Does nursing take up a lot of your free time, like studying and such? So yes, it does. It does take up more free time than some other majors might. I would say that it requires more sacrifices than some of the other majors might. And just because there is a lot at stake, there's a lot of responsibility in the job and in the major, and a lot that's expected of you when you're going to clinicals. And it's really all out of wanting to prepare you. They want you to be really well prepared when you graduate and are representing the school after you go and work, and you're taking care of somebody's health and somebody's life. So they do expect a lot out of you, and it is difficult. It's just a lot of information, a lot of dates and things going on back to back between like tests and working your clinical rotations. Clinical rotations, similarly to when you work as a nurse, are 12-hour shifts. So nursing shifts are from 7 to 7. That can either be during the day or 7 to 7 during the night, day shift and night shift. When you're in college, your clinical rotations, once you're in the nursing program, are usually once a week, and it's from 6:30 to 6:30. And clinicals are when you go to a hospital. Your university figures all of this out. You don't have to contact the hospital or do anything. But you go with a group of students from your class and a professor, and you're working with patients and nurses. And it's really interesting because you're sitting in class in your lectures learning the like reading from the textbook and PowerPoint notes and things like that. And you have all of this information. And then when you go to clinicals, you get to see all of it applied and seen in real life. And just, it really helps to piece together everything. So it's a really cool experience. But then it does take up some of your time. Not all of your time. I've still had plenty of time for other things, and I get to go out on weekends and hang out, just not all the time. You do have to learn to manage it. How much money does a nurse receive? So the average nursing salary is like between $65,000 to $75,000, I believe. It depends on where you're working. So if you're in school or hospital, the state where you're working, the specialty. So some specialties get paid a little bit more. You can get paid more for being a bilingual nurse, which is a really great opportunity. It's a really valuable skill to have in nursing, getting to communicate with your patients. The hospitals and just any facility really values bilingual nurses, so you can get paid more for that. But yeah, 70 average. With nursing, I'm going to see the other questions that were asked earlier on nursing just to make sure I don't miss any of those. Yeah, so how many years does it take to get the degree? It's 4 years. Okay, I think those were all the nursing questions. If I missed anyone's nursing question from earlier, sorry, just go ahead and, okay. We saw the other day in the news, some nurses, because of COVID, have been getting paid $12,000 a week. So yes, with COVID, and very unfortunately, obviously, a lot of people have had a lot of job difficulty. Nurses, it's been the complete opposite. Nurses have been getting paid a lot more since COVID started, just because of the shortage, the supply and demand of patients to nurses. Nurses are getting paid a lot extra to work extra hours, pick up extra shifts, go to these cities that have a lot a lot more COVID patients, things such as that. I know somebody who's been getting paid $700 extra for every shift she picks up. So it's a lot of money in nursing right now. Yeah, good question. Yes, so with nursing, then afterwards with nursing, the most common thing is that after graduating from the program, people go and work with their bachelor's degree. However, if you want to continue your education, you also have the option of getting a master's degree in nursing or getting your nurse practitioner degree. Both of those are kind of just higher up levels of nursing. They allow you to do a couple more things than a bachelor's degree nurse. You get paid more money. It's a higher position. And so those are options that you have afterwards. There's even a doctorate degree of nursing, where you can be like Dr. Blank, and you're not your typical doctor, you're a nurse, but another really cool thing that you can do with your nursing degree. As far as specializing goes as a nurse, there's also a couple of different ways you can do that. So for a lot of people, what they do is that after you graduate and you're working, depending on the facility, a lot with nursing kind of just depends on the facility, but one of the really common things is that you can, if you're working, say, in a certain area, such as the ICU or ER, for a certain amount of time, you can take an exam saying like, hey, I'm really comfortable in this area. I know it really well. I'm very experienced here. You take an exam, and if you pass that exam, you get a certification saying that you're like highly specialized in that area, and you can get paid more for having that certification. And you can get multiple certifications in various departments. So you're never limited to one specific thing. There's a lot of opportunity to learn new things, try new things, move around, and just keep learning and seeing different things as you like them and as you change your mind, because interests change, and depending on what you may have going on in life, you may be wanting different things. Are there any other questions specifically on nursing school? Anyone has? Nursing textbooks can get expensive. There's a lot of Facebook pages of where people sell old textbooks. This even goes for your regular textbooks when you're a freshman. I thought of this just now. There's Facebook pages for students of the university, and they'll post their old textbooks that they're selling for extremely cheap compared to the prices online and in the textbook store. So I would recommend looking at that whenever you're getting textbooks. You can save a lot of money that way. Okay. Well, yeah, just overall with college, I'll kind of start wrapping up, but can still take any questions that y'all may have. It goes by really fast. So just enjoy it. Try to have a great experience and a great time with it. It requires a lot of sacrifices on your end, on your parents' end. Sacrifices of, it's a lot of time, money, it's expensive. So just try to take advantage and not let any of the opportunities you have go to waste. Really enjoy it and try to make the most out of it. It's a really great blessing and opportunity. What's the GPA requirement for UMHB? I believe that the GPA requirement for the nursing school is a 3.0. I don't remember what the requirement is to the school in general. I don't remember. I can try. I don't remember. I don't want to say a number I'm not completely sure about, but I'm sure that that's online, and I can try to find information on that and then send it to Isabel or send that to y'all if I can find it. Because it also may have changed from when I was applying to what it is now. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Melanie, that's fine. It shows here, I mean, that is a 3.0, but that's the requirement not for nursing, but for, you know, for the university student must graduate from high school with a minimum GPA of 3.0. That's what,
Okay.
okay, that's general.
Okay, thank you, gracias. Does anyone else have any questions? College, in general, nursing school, nursing as a job, anything? Also, I'm gonna go ahead, I'll send my cell phone number in the chat, and y'all are more than welcome to meet parents or students. Anybody is welcome to text me. You can easily reach me by my cell phone number. I respond usually pretty quickly. If not, I'll try to get back to you as fast as I can. But if you have any questions either tonight about something you didn't want to ask on the Zoom or that you think of later, or even in 4 months, in a year, whenever, anytime you have questions, y'all are welcome to text me, and I love to get to answer questions.
Please tell her that is from Info College, okay? We receive so many that we don't want anybody bothering you that is not, you know, like from the class.
Yeah, you can just tell me your name and just tell me the info for college Zoom, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, sorry, I think I accidentally sent it to someone privately. Here. Okay, now I think I sent it out now.
May I ask you, how are you doing this semester? I mean, is everything, are you in on campus or are you at home? How are
Yes,
you?
so my school has been able to open everything up since last August, actually.
Oh, wow.
And we have the option of online or in-person classes for everything, which is a really great, really big blessing because a lot of schools are all online right now or don't have everything opened up. I think the fact that we are a smaller school has significantly facilitated for that to happen and kind of control it with COVID. So all of my classes are in person. With nursing, a lot of nursing programs are having online clinical rotations, which is just not the same experience at all. The fun part of clinicals is that you get to go to the hospital in person. So I feel bad for the schools and programs that have that online, but we've been able to have everything in person. So I'm here at school. The teacher to student ratio is about online, it's a really small number. It's like 16 to 1, I think. In my experience with my classes have been almost identical in size to classes in high school. A lot of colleges have like huge classrooms of like 200 to 500 students in these like huge auditoriums and lecture halls, or even like 175 students, things like that. And UMHB has really small class sizes, which I really enjoyed. It allows for the classes to be very like discussion style, where everybody kind of gets to talk and learn that way versus just like the teacher talking for an hour to everybody and then you never get to know the professor. So it's very personable, having such a small community in a smaller school. I've really enjoyed that. I think my largest class was like 40 students, which is really small for college even. Make sure I didn't miss any other questions. Okay. Yeah, so I hope that covered everything, everything it could have, and whatever it didn't, I hope I got to answer everybody's questions and
No,
that
thank
this has
you,
helped.
Melanie. It was really nice talking to you today, and your presentation was amazing.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to talk about it with everybody. Info for College made a really big difference for me, and a really big difference. Whenever I first signed up for Info for College, I had no idea the help that it would bring me and the relief. So definitely thank y'all too for everything. I appreciate all the help that y'all give. And I enjoy getting to help out too in whichever way I can. I know it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of work trying to figure out and maneuver. So any help goes a long way, I know.
Well, it's nice to see that you are now part of, you know, of the help for everybody else. Thank you. Thanks.
Exactly.
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna take a picture for the audience today. A picture, a lot of freeze pictures, but it's okay because I don't see the face. Yeah, but I'm so glad that Yadira, Melanie this morning is here too. I really see how proud she is for her daughter. Yeah, and we are proud too, Melanie.
Thank you. Gracias. Muchas gracias a ustedes.
Okay, feliz fin de semana, chicos. Besitos, cuídense.
Gracias.
Melanie, one more time.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Good luck, everybody. And text me any questions.
Sure, they will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
A pleasure.